Alright, welcome back everyone. I guess before we go down to feed my worms, we're just going to take a quick look at the tracking spreadsheet. So here you can see my active bins. Here's today's date. Today's the 13th of August, and the last time I did a feeding was on the 6th, which was 7 days ago. These are my 5 active bins. So here you can see the total number of days the bin has aged since it was originally built, and as you can see with my oldest bin, it's approaching kind of my personal longest period of time of any bin that's been in action, which is 182. So a few days from now this will actually probably become the oldest bin I've ever had, and it's due for harvest. It's just time hasn't really permitted for it. The horizontal migration that we set up at this point 18 days ago is going pretty good. I checked in on it a few times, but we're going to go downstairs and we're going to feed these bins, and we're going to also continue that horizontal feeding by adding food to that bin as well. And while we're at it, we're just going to see if we can spot some worms, and I'm sure we will. So let's head on downstairs and proceed with our feeding. So we're now in the basement, down in my wormery, and you might have noticed that I've sort of taken a departure from using the cardboard to cover up the bins. It's been very humid in the summer here in Jersey, so I've actually gone with only just a sheet of newspaper on the top of each of these bins to, I guess just so it doesn't dry out so much, but there's been little risk of the material drying out just because of the level of humidity we've been having. So here you can see the food that we're going to be feeding with. If you've been watching any of my other recent feedings, then you're going to see that we're big fans of corn. Okay, so this is the oldest bin that I have right now. It's the one that we looked at earlier on the spreadsheet. If you've been watching any of my previous videos, then you're going to know that this one was set up recently for a horizontal migration process, which places food for the worms onto a particular side of the bin, in this case this side, and it's intended to create a place where the worms are drawn to, and as a result of that, the remainder of the bin would invariably become depopulated so that it can be harvested for the castings. But if you look here, it seems like some of these earlier feedings have been holding out pretty good in terms of, I thought that maybe the stuff would get consumed more quickly, but it does look like there's probably way more than enough in here for now, so I think I might have to just skip feeding this one. There's an avocado pit. Oh, surprising how it's semi-flexible. But you know what, as long as we're here, why don't we just disturb the worms a little bit in their habitat here and see if we can get a peek at what they're up to. Okay. Piece of corn, but it's got this real, this interesting kind of feel to it. It feels almost hollow. You can see like little fibers inside of it, as well as a couple worms that have made their way down into the inside of it. It's pretty interesting. So I guess that's their way of attacking it. They go for the center of it. Oh yeah, look at that. Check it out. Got a couple big fat ones in there digging in. It must be like a bone or something where the marrow, or with the best juicy stuff inside. But these corn cobs are just shredding apart at this point. Very nice progress. Yep. So every cob that you look inside of, there's multiple worms eating it from the inside out. Pretty cool. Let's see what we find on the bottom over here. Holy cow. So the worms have definitely, most certainly, taken a liking to this feeding zone on this horizontal migration, because they are in massive numbers. I just reached down to the bottom of the back corner here to create a little divot where I might be able to drop some of these pieces of food, and out came a tremendous number of worms. Look at them go. Wow, look at this. Some sort of like a gooey something that they're really clinging to. Maybe, yeah, cardboard, a little chunk of bedding. Wow. There is just a ton of worms in this bin. I'm just curious. I'm going to do a little reach to the bottom on this side too and see what we end up with. I already feel it's really gooey. Wow. I guess I'll just push things off to either side and just create a hole here in the middle. Wow. Look at this. Unbelievable. Just a complete glob of nothing but worms. Awesome. So some of this bedding that I yanked out of the bottom should return to down there. And all of these food scraps. I'll take this pit and try to keep it near the top. This is just nothing but worms. I mean, I'm sure there's something amongst them, some sort of food scraps still that they're working together. Some more chunks of bedding. Wow. Alright. I'm just going to end up shooting just way too much video of this one bin. But that's really something to see there, what's happening in this feeding zone here. Horizontal migration. So I think one of the next steps is going to have to come up with some sort of a new domain for these little critters so I can move them over now that they're jumbling up together as I had hoped they would. The pit back here. Let them continue working on it. Alright, I guess we're not feeding here today, but we'll see how the other bins are doing. Hopefully we'll be able to feed with some of this stuff. Be ashamed to have spent all this time and end up just putting it all back in the freezer. Okay. Now this next bin here is, where's the date? April 4th. Been around since April 4th. And that oldest bin we just looked at has really been around since February, so this was a couple months behind. Still feeding in the center of the bin. Haven't switched over to a horizontal migration strategy yet. You can really see how when they come to the surface, they do take nice chunks out of this coffee filter, so it's interesting to see how the coffee filter is gradually getting depleted as well. Now here too, I can already feel right away there's just large chunks of yeah, it just seems like there's totally plenty of food in here. So I'm starting to get this feeling like I'm just going to have to put this food back into the freezer and save it for another day. I'm going to have to allow a little bit more time for this corn on the cob to all get consumed. But as long as we're here, right, let's take a peek at how the worms are doing. Maybe just rearrange things so that the air content throughout the bin stays steady. Don't want things to get moist and gooey and nasty. Alright, so now that we've dug everything up, I think I need to just move all the food aside so I can create a couple new crevices to drop everything down into. Here's some of the bedding that I inadvertently pulled up from the bottom. This is interesting to see too. This was some sort of trying to remember what this was. Some sort of a root vegetable, I think. But just its interesting fibrous appearance. Wow, so cool, and it's so gooey, the whole thing. I guess it's occupied with a bunch of worms on the inside. Yeah. So they really seem to be enjoying that. Here's a little bit more bedding. Got a lot of occupants. Alright, so yeah, let's just take all this food stuff out of the holes. Or out of the material and dig some holes. Because they're just, there's still just tons of food left in here. Yeah, I got a feeling that it's just going to be sort of a show and tell session here. We're probably not going to feed just because there still seems to be an abundance of food. Not to say that that abundance is causing any sort of a problem. Nothing that I can observe that would appear to be a problem. Yeah, just tons of worms everywhere. Now the corn cobs have been in here for, a couple of feedings. The last feeding that I did not film included a lot of stuff like carrots and other things. Carrots I know are also high in sugar content, so I think that's part of the reason I see no signs of any carrot anywhere. It just seems like it all got gobbled up. So maybe that's the other reason that the corn didn't get consumed as quickly as I thought, because of the distraction of the carrots going in there. Alrighty, so let's get all this corn back down into the bottom. I must say I like what I'm seeing. This is not corn, it's whatever it was. It? More corn cobs anywhere? Yeah, I'm just looking at this material. It's so nice and fine throughout, everywhere. It's just crumbly and damp. It's got a nice earthy aroma to it. It's really nice, fine stuff. Move on to the next bin, where I assume we're going to get more of the same. Just plenty of remaining food from previous feedings, and probably no need to add more. Surprise, surprise. Alright, so let's see. With this bin, I've always been sticking to using this little, whatever it is. This is some cranberry. It's been in here for months and months, taking forever to break down, but yeah, this chestnut or whatever it is has been in the bins for months and months. It's going nowhere. But I'm curious just to see if eventually it will start to break down, or if the worms do eventually start to feed on it. Okay, bin number 3, also from April, as will the next bin. Bin number 4 is also from April. Guess we're sticking to the same game plan that we've just sort of come up with here, is to assume that we're probably not going to have to feed, and I can tell already there's corn cobs throughout the middle feeding zone here, and plenty of them, so I don't think it's going to be necessary to add more food. Can't remember what this was. Tomato stems, maybe? What's this? Oh, okay. Some of the additional stuff that got added during the last feeding. This is a beet. Beets, I believe, are also quite full of sugar. What's happening here? Looks like if you squeeze a little bit, some of that red beet juice is coming out or whatever. But it is a little bit mushy. I guess what I'll do here is what I did in the previous one. Well, here's another avocado seed. Doesn't bend as easily as the other one, so maybe it's not as far along. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull all the food out so we can get a look at what's happening. At the same time, we're going to be aerating the material and inspecting to see how everything's doing. And then we'll just create a new hole in the middle to put everything back into. Let's do another flip here to see what we've got going on. It always seems like beneath the food is where the worms really like to be, in this bedding material I laid down underneath the food last time I fed. More corn. Okay, I'm not feeling any more cobs. But here too is some more root vegetable that they really seem to be enjoying. Okay, let's go ahead and return this food to the depths so that they can continue working it. Some more bedding type material, paper and whatnot. I'll put this beet in the middle. Maybe put this stem thing in the middle with it, as well as this avocado pit. Then we'll flank everything with corn on both sides. Here too, I could feel that some of these corn pieces are very whoa, look at that. Very easy to break and usually occupied with a bunch of worms on the inside. What's this? Maybe this is what they're after. It's like this really soft, fleshy material. Cool. Okay. Let's get this one covered back up. Might have to wait another week or so before we can feed, because I think we've got plenty here. Alrighty. So here I see a pretty good sized cavity that has developed, which usually means that the food that was there has been depleted to a certain point. Let's take out whatever's here. I'm sure we're going to find corn in here too. Yep. I could smell lime. I know I was adding a little bit of forbidden food here and there recently. What is this? This is also some sort of a root vegetable, but it seems like they've gone to the inside of it and eaten it from the inside out. It almost looks like paper. Layers of paper. Pretty interesting. Can't remember what it was though. Maybe like a parsnip or some sort of a carrot-looking, carrot-shaped root vegetable. Oh, here we go, another avocado pit. More little chunks of corn. More corn. Smell lime. Smell a little bit of lime in there somewhere. More corn. More root vegetable husk or whatever it was. I think I feel any more large chunks, so go ahead and drop these back down into the hole. Not serving too much more of a purpose other than giving us a chance to peek at how things are progressing, which is just as important because, you know, helps us plan ahead. So I'll just cover this up again here. Yeah, some more of this bedding material. No, this was actually, no, it looks like bedding material, right? It looks like just a piece of paper or something, but it's the leftovers of some vegetable matter. Good stuff. Whatever this is. Alrighty. Alrighty, one last bin to feed. Well, not even to feed, but to check in on at this point. This last bin here is the newest one. And this newest one got fed melon once, so all the melon seeds are germinating and trying to grow. They've been doing this for a few weeks now. I'm sure it's just a matter of time before it finally ceases to do that. So this is interesting. Whenever I find a piece of corn that still has the kernels on it, it just seems like it takes forever for it to deteriorate, as if they just had no interest in the kernels themselves. I don't feel any corn. There's plenty of worms down here, though. There's just this one piece of corn. Could I have overlooked feeding this bin last time? Or could it be that the worms in this bin are just more into corn? I don't know. Alright, so you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a little bit of food to this particular bin, only because I just didn't find the glut of food in it the way I did in the other bins. So at least we do get to feed a little bit on this occasion. I'll just throw this corn that was in progress back down there. And the stem. Those are the two only decent sized things that I could find. So I'll just throw a little bit of corn cob in here. And I guess we'll be able to expect that we'll wait another month before it finally gets consumed. Nice consistency for the worms, I think. It's kind of wet and sticky and gooey, and not sticky, but wet, damp, full of all kinds of leafy and cardboardy stuff. And I just have to wash my hands in the gloves, but for now I think that's it. I guess it did eventually turn into a feeding, but not much of a feeding. But thanks for watching. I appreciate your company. Hopefully you enjoyed checking out my worms, and hopefully we'll see you back here next time. Alright, take care. Have a nice day.